Hey everybody, how are you? I'm Shelly Palmer. Welcome to Web3 Wednesday. I hope all of you are having an awesome time. I am back in New York after a week in Las Vegas, which, to tell you the truth, is about as much of Las Vegas as anyone should ever have to take. It was awesome. I was so happy to be back there. I can't imagine saying out loud it was awesome to be back in Vegas. Years ago, we would spend up to 10 weeks a year there. And through the pandemic, we spent no weeks a year there. But wow, the town's amazing. The people are amazing. It's Las Vegas. This is an Ask Me Anything Web3 Wednesday. It's welcome to 2023. This is our first show of the year. All kinds of fun stuff has gone on. Please ask your questions. Let me know who you are. Let me know where you are. Let each other know what you do, because chat is where it's at, always at Web3 Wednesday. Matt Quint, welcome. As a poker fan, I could do a good bit of Vegas. Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what, Matt, this is crazy. Years ago, and I've been going to Vegas since 1978, pretty much several weeks a year for trade shows. And I started going when I was a junior in college, because my college professors in NYU at the School of the Arts told us that if we were going to be in the TV business, we needed to go to the NATB convention, the National Academy of Television Program Executives, which happened in Vegas. And the first day that we got there, we went gambling, and I found myself in a $1 Texas Hold'em match and fell in love. And I mean, completely fell in love. So I think it's the greatest game ever created. It might be on some kind of par with craps. They might be up there in my world together, but Texas Hold'em, the greatest game, I think, like ever, ever, ever. You know, when you win, it's your skill. When you lose, it's bad luck. I mean, it's a perfect game. Anyway, I used to play. We'd go there a week in advance to set up the trade shows. And I used to play on a pretty regular basis at night, get into whatever games I could get into. I graduated from $2 to 5 and 10 to, 25, 50 as my career advanced a little bit until roughly 10 years ago, when the 20-year-olds showed up. And the 20-year-olds had played 100,000 hands of video poker before they'd showed up in Vegas. I got to tell you something. When you face off against a 20-year-old with a human brain that has pattern matched 100,000, 150,000 hands of poker, and I don't think I had played 150,000 hands of poker in my life up to that point, I tell you what, it's hard to win. And these kids, they were waiting for you. They were really waiting for you. So yeah, love Texas Hold'em, love poker, love to play. No longer play in Las Vegas ever, unless people are over roughly my age, because when you play kids, you're guaranteed to be in a bad place. All right, ask your questions, please, and you can put them here in chat. You can send them via email. You can put them on Twitter, whatever you like. Anyway, we're back from Vegas. Quick question already. What do we have here? This is, what do you think about Seattle suing Big Social? All right, Alana R. What do I think? I'll tell you what, before we get into it. Yeah, social media has, look, at its best, it connects us to our friends and it amplifies our voices, and it's wonderful. When it's bad, it has the ability to inflict an incredible amount of what I believe is totally measurable pain. So many young girls harming themselves, committing suicide, feeling just terrible about their self-image because of the way they've been bullied or treated on social. This is well documented. It is time. Seattle School District is saying, hey, this is bad, and we want someone to be accountable for it. I think there's probably some responsibility that parents have to stay on top of their kids, but you can't watch your kids all the time. And one of the big issues that I think we have to grapple with, and I don't have a good answer for, by the way, so please weigh in right here in chat. I'd love you to tell me what you think. Sure, I want to restrict usage and I want to do good, serious parenting. And my normal parable is that, hey, when you taught your kids to walk across the street, did you do that once, or did you grab their hands, they look both ways, purposely walk across the street? And the answer is you did it a lot, because you wanted to make sure they understood how dangerous streets were and how badly hurt you can be when a car hits you. So you need to do the same thing with the internet. That said, I don't think you can restrict a child from using the internet and using social media for a couple of reasons. One, the peer pressure would just be insurmountable, which is not a good excuse, but it's reality. The peer pressure to the child would be insurmountable. The bigger problem is that this is the way this generation is going to communicate, like it or not. When I was young, you had letters and a postcard. And then we got faxes, and that was considered immediate and instant. It went from messenger services where someone had a bicycle across town with a message, a handwritten document, to, faxes that could happen immediately. Now we're much faster communicators. We're instant communicators. We've gone through email. We've gone through all of the versions of chat messaging. We evolved into it. These kids are born into it. They're not going to be in a world where this isn't true, and they're going to need to learn the vernacular. There are dialects that are spoken on Twitter, dialects that are spoken on Snapchat. Every single chat environment has its own dialect, its own protocols, its own conventions, and the kids know them really well. I've got young granddaughters who have smartphones, and they are adept at the things they are adept at. You don't really want to stop them from being able to integrate and interface into their world. On the other hand, it's plenty dangerous out there, plenty dangerous. So I'm going to watch the Seattle School District suit against Big Social very, very carefully, Alana, and I think I'm not of two minds. I honestly believe, on balance, social media is worse for us than better for us. I think it has changed things immeasurably. It's created these terrifying vortexes of confirmation bias. And look, let's face it, a smartphone, this is the finest filter you're ever going to have in your life. If you will blanket yourself in the comfort of the information that you want to hear. So if someone upsets you or takes you out of your comfort zone, you're leaving instantly. And if someone confirms your biases about politically or whatever, then you're happy. Wow. Okay. Endorphins and all that go on in your brain, and you are just addicted to it. Social media addiction is real. Should there be an age that you let a kid get into this? Again, we're getting into a world where this is the way they communicate. We use the phone. They use handhelds. Ultimately, they may use something else, but right now, this is what they do. Can you restrict their learning curve? Can you restrict the sociology? That's like saying, well, you can't, I'm going to homeschool you, but I'm never going to let you interact with other kids. You'll be smart, but you'll have absolutely no understanding of how to negotiate social situations. So I think that's probably not great on balance. This conversation is always going on. It's going on Discord. Discord.gg/Shelly Palmer. We got a really wonderful Discord server with a lot of people talking about stuff. And of course, we're always on Twitter at Shelly Palmer, which is a great place to go. I would be remiss. Thank you all for showing up. I see a lot of people here I know and love. Steve Sobel and Lynn Burkholder and Dwight Yen and so many, and Matt Quint. I see a lot of people here. Andre Kaminsky, the Andre Kaminsky, not just a Andre Kaminsky. Andre is a Shelly Palmer Productions alum with just a Andre was worked in our client services group and was in fact the finest representative of the Palmer Group back in the day. It goes back about 1 million years. Justin and Bob, Alan, welcome. Glad to see all you guys here. I don't mean to do magic mirror. Kipper, glad you're here too. Anyway, let's talk about the funner stuff, if you will. When you're here, you can go to shellypalmer.com and you can get this week's POAP, Proof of Attendance Protocol Token. What can you do with your POAP? Well, I tell you what, POAPs are basically free of charge, airdropped NFTs. They are in fact NFTs. They look like NFTs. They smell like NFTs, but they're of no cost to you. You can get one with just an email address, or you can put it in your digital wallet. Here's the cool thing. In just 2 weeks, we are going to have, if you collect 5 POAPs, or if you have collected 5 POAPs ever, you will get an invitation automatically to a Shelly Palmer virtual online live tour or tech briefing of CES. It's the same tech briefing that we are customizing for our clients, our online tech briefing for the leadership teams that couldn't make it to CES, and we will be structuring one for our POAP holders, our the most loyal community members. So if you've collected 5 POAPs, you can qualify, and you will automatically get invited. Again, it's shellypalmer.com/POAP. Now, this morning, OpenAI said they're going to begin piloting ChatGPT Professional. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to play with ChatGPT. It is extraordinary. Here's a question from Janet L. Do you use ChatGPT? Yeah, I do. Every single day, about 10 times a day, I'm on ChatGPT. It's such an incredible time saver. I almost can't describe to you how much time it saves. It's quantifiable. It's something on the order of 20 minutes in the morning when I'm working on the morning rant. I write something every day. If you're on the shellypalmer.com mailing list, you get a rant and then the 5-6 news items I like that I think get my attention every morning, and we send them out. And the rant that I write, I always have to do research. I always have to think through what I'm going to write. I always try to describe things in a certain way, and ChatGPT is amazing for that. It also writes lyrics very well. It writes prose very well. It does bullet points really well. It summarizes really well. And the way that you use ChatGPT, I gave it a name. I don't know if this is the right name or the wrong name, but I call it chat prompting, which is the art of telling your AI coworker what it is you want it to do. And it's not the same as prompt tuning or prompt engineering, which those are actual terms of art. But I think the people who are chat prompting now, learning to chat prompt, this is the new skill. And what I do with just me, what I do is I tell ChatGPT what I want it to be. So I'll say you are a chief marketing officer from a Fortune 500 company, and I want you to create a hypothetical blank. You are a evaluated reseller of a software as a service for ad tech and martech. I actually tell it that first, so it knows the persona it's supposed to have. Then I ask it to either paraphrase something, or I tell it to, I'll give it an example and say rephrase, or I will tell it specifically what I'm thinking I need it to do. Take that. It's almost always too verbose on the first pass. What it normally does is rephrase your prompt into the first paragraph, which is basically useless. But once it goes through the first iteration, when you click the regenerate button, you will generally get somewhere between the first and second pass something that's really usable. By the third pass, if it hasn't gotten it, you really have to reframe what it is you're asking for, because otherwise you're not going to get the value out of it. It's great for bullet points. It's great for summarizing really long bodies of text, like meeting notes. There's another AI that's leverages a generative pre-trained transformer set commercially called Summary. It's a play on the word samurai, but Summary, it summarizes, and it does a really nice job. That's a for pay. I'm not shilling for it. I've used it. It's good. But for what I'm doing, you can get away with ChatGPT very easily, actually. Again, please ask your questions in chat, and we will get them in there. I'm happy to do that. Okay, let's see. Cybersecurity. I always get this question. Why do we always get this question? This is from Howard T. Your video looks great. What kind of camera are you using to capture your talks? I was at CES last week, and we went to the Sony booth, and Sony has simply won the mirrorless war. Originally, the prosumer cameras were Canon and Nikon. The 5D Mark III was the cinema camera of choice for a prosumer. You could take your whole Canon suite of lenses and it shot video natively. Nikon really never got that right. I mean, they have it right now, but they never really got that right, certainly not at a price. Sony was looking at the smaller format cameras, not full frame. So Panasonic was using this format called 4/3 for their Lumix GH3, GH4, and GH5, which was good and actually looked amazing. I have a Lumix Panasonic GHX3, yeah, but it wasn't really a quality video camera, and the lenses, I just didn't have enough lenses, and I wasn't going to invest in lenses that were compatible with the Panasonic camera back. Sony came out with its mirrorless APS-C, which is also not a full frame camera, but it is particularly fabulous. And my full set of Sony lenses could work. So I ended up with a full suit of primes, 16 millimeter wide angle, which is the YouTube camera of choice, a Sony mirrorless 6000, 6100, 6400, 6600, one of those guys. I think only the 6400, the Alpha 6400 is available now. So that camera with a 16 millimeter lens you can hold at arm's length, and that is the YouTube camera. When people are walking, that's what a YouTuber will use. You can do it 16 by 9, or of course you can just turn it 9 by 16. You can also shoot it in 4K, in which case you can crop it down to 9:16 or 16:9, whichever you prefer. Leave it as 16:9 for regular HD, or you just flip it. You crop it rather than flip it for 9:16, which would be, you know, the format for Reels or Stories or Instagram or TikTok. The Sony cameras that I'm looking into right now is a 6600, which I believe has been discontinued, but the 6400 is still available, and it's got a fixed length 30 millimeter lens on it, which frames this up, and you can. This is optically. The frame of focus, the plane of focus is here, and the camera goes blurry in the background because it's a 1.8 f-stop lens, and I have it wide open, and I've adjusted exposure and what have you to deal with the fact that this lens is wide open. Key light, fill light, no backlights here because it's not required. At least I'd look better if I had a backlight, but it's like I don't have a way to do it. The room isn't big enough. And then there's a couple accent lights in blue behind me, and as you can see, the background is glowing. So that kind of gives a backlight, but the backlight's not highlighting my gorgeous hair because I don't have any. If I had hair, though, I would definitely do it. And if I was going to do that, I'd put what's known as a minus green on it, which is a magenta gel, and it would have that kind of, ooh, he looks awesome. The minus green is usually used for green screen, but I actually like the minus green gel in the background of anything. So now you have all the secrets there are, Howard Tolman, of how this is done. There's a kit.co/Shelly Palmer. I think that's you can check that out. Kit.co/Shelly Palmer. That's where the whole like rig is that I use. Speaking of rigs that I use, one of the guys I love to hang out with in a fairly technical environment is my buddy Seth Everett. We do every week on Tuesdays, we drop Tech Stream with Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett. Sorry, Seth. Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett. It's, the fun stuff, pop culture, tech, all that. We talk about all kinds of good stuff. And I hope you can find it wherever podcasts are sold now or downloaded. Everybody wants to know about CES 2023. What can I tell you? It was so super fun to be there. I mean, so super fun. All my friends were there. It was a smaller show. I'm going to say there were 110,000 people there. That's what they're saying. I think they were closer to 80,000, but it doesn't matter. It was the right people, and everybody who was there to do business. And it was a small but mighty show, and I really, really enjoyed it at so many levels. There was not a lot new, and I want to say that with a caveat. Every year there's incremental improvement, every year. And routine innovation is what you expect at CES. the explosive innovation was all in AI this year, all of it. And with ChatGPT and all of the other products from OpenAI and from DeepMind, when you look at, pardon me, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, Dolly 2, like these are massive increases in capability, and consumers are getting to use them. And it really isn't a consumer electronics product or a consumer technology product that CES was ready to demonstrate. Also, how do you demonstrate it in a booth? It's like there's nothing to see. These are tools. They're being incorporated into everything. Microsoft is thinking about making a very large investment into OpenAI, and we're talking on the order of $10 billion for roughly a 49% stake. That'll leave OpenAI with about a 2% stake when they're done. There's a weird cap, apparently, where the investors can only get 100 times their investment back. ChatGPT is one of those tools that just took the world by storm. You're looking at it reaching 1 million users in the shortest period of time that any technology has ever reached 1 million users. We're nowhere near the end. They're going to be putting out a pro version of this. Like I said, there's a waiting list right now. You can get on the pro version of it. So that's cool. But CES did have a few surprises, for me anyway, and just a few things I got to see in person. One of my favorites, since you are asking, is this little guy. This is the Withings You Scan. Now, Withings, as you remember, they have a wonderful digital scale. The app was called HealthMate for a while. They sold it to Nokia for 5 minutes. They bought it back. It's a great company. They've done a wonderful job with this. This is a funny little device. You charge it. It will last 90 days on a single charge. Now, what happens with your single charge? There's a cartridge that goes inside of this. Actually, there are 3 possible cartridges right now. One is a cartridge that deals with nutrition and general health. The other is one that deals with menstrual cycle and fertility for women. And the last is a professionally programmable cartridge that various medical professionals will set up to do whatever tests they need. What are they testing? They're testing number 1. You go number 1 like you normally do. The device figures out it's you and knows it's always you due to some biomarkers, so you don't have to touch it for 90 days. And it's doing your analysis on a regular basis, like whenever you do number 1. So this is amazing. This is a test we normally get at a doctor's office once a year at our regular physical. And here they're able to put this together for us as needed. I mean, it's just incredible. So as devices go, the overarching theme at CES wasn't about curing us. It was about keeping us healthy. And you know, it's interesting because when I think about the medical profession here in the United States now, I spend a lot of money for health insurance. I'm sure you do too. And the doctor is there to make you well when you get sick, and they'll tell you eat less, don't smoke, exercise, be active. But that's about all of it. Some people go to nutritionists and what have you, but the medical profession is about curing you when you're sick as opposed to keeping you well. There was just an overarching theme at CES for self-testing. They were testing motility. They were testing to help understand menstrual cycle better for women who are dealing with fertility issues. They were dealing with weight loss. They were dealing with diabetes. They were like, everybody had a kind of a prescriptive test or a prophylactic test that would allow you to know something that you didn't know before that might help you in advance, early detection. MedWand is another company that was there. They've been around for a long time. For those of you who are Star Trek fans, MedWand is like a real-life version of Dr. McCoy's medical tricorder from Star Trek. Kind of amazing. And I just felt like this was the whole story of the digital health section, and it was heartwarming and also awesome. So I liked, best in show for me was the Withings You Scan, because it's something that makes practical sense. It's not something you want to talk about in polite company or over dinner, but it has the potential to really, really help people. Now, moving on, at CES. The next thing I liked was back at Sony. We were just talking about their mirrorless cameras. And by the way, Sony's got mirrorless cameras that start at like under $500 or right around $500. It's their ZV one system. They have two versions of it. One with a fixed focal length 20 millimeter wide angle lens. Comes with a dead cat on the top, which is like that fuzzy thing over the microphone. What else does it come with? For 150 extra bucks, you can buy a kind of a selfie stick that's a tripod with some remote control capability, which is actually really helpful. Not so much as a selfie stick, although it's great to have the trigger under your thumb when you're holding the camera up in front of you. And then there's I want to say $700 version of it that comes with a zoom lens that goes from 24 to 70 millimeters. What's amazing about that camera, the ZV-1, is that it's an f1.8 to like 2 point something lens from a light capacity, which means it's going to bokeh like this camera here. It's gonna bokeh like this, which is pretty great. Now, you can do that with computational photography after the fact, but if you're on the fly, you want to do that stuff in the lens, and that's what's really cool. Going back to this blew my mind. You use one of their Xperia phones, and you put on the model on the left is standing in front of a white screen. You can do this, I think, in front of almost anything. In fact, I don't think you need to be in front of anything. You put on 6 sensors, one on each wrist, one around your head, one at the small of your back, and one around each ankle. And then you just dance or do whatever you're going to do. And the smartphone will motion capture your actions, and you can use that to animate a character. And this is under $500 retail in Japan right now, and it will be brought to the States later this year for also under $500. Now, if you ever think about motion capture, you've seen people in the ultimate green suits, and you've seen them in non-repro blue suits. They have the little dots everywhere so that the motion capture cameras can actually figure out where all the joints are. There are two technologies Sony has that deal with this. One is this Mocopi thing, which I just showed you. The other is a Hawkeye, which of course looks at your limbs when you're running around the field of play. They do that optically. They can find 29 skeletal joints optically on a whole field of players. But that's out of the financial reach of most YouTubers. Here you're talking Sony Mocopi is under 500, and you're going to be able to animate characters. Now, the other use case for Mocopi, I'll just show this to you one more time. Imagine this person didn't just do a little dance and get captured once, but imagine they were blocking a scene for a motion picture, or you're shooting something. And here what they did was they allowed each of these layers to be brought into like Unreal Engine, and you could block a scene that you were going to shoot with. Let's say you're going to crash a car through a window into a bar, and you wanted to block the scene, figure out the stunts. Could the actors stand there? What would have to happen specifically? Where would you want to put lighting? Where would the cameras need to be? You're not going to crash that car more than once. You could do the entire thing in Unreal Engine and have one actor put these sensors on and go ahead and do all the pre-visualization you'd need to do very cheaply. So I thought that, that's they were showing that. Most of the people we were taking on tour didn't fully understand the idea of pre-visualization, but I'm sure everybody listening here will understand it perfectly since we're all in the production business. The other thing I saw at CES that I really liked, I got to say I really liked, was this. This is the story of CES was probably partnerships. And 5 years ago, you go to CES, Samsung stuff works with Samsung, Sony stuff works with Sony, Sharp stuff works with Sharp, LG stuff works with LG. Like, none of these guys wanted their stuff to work with anything else. So this, first of all, it's made me laugh. Rolo, not owned by Jeff Bezos, which for a shipping company is pretty funny. But what these guys are is a little software company. And all they did was create an app, and then they went out and made deals, partnerships with the United States Post Office. They made a deal with FedEx and UPS. You don't need a contract. You don't need anything. You download their app. You want to ship something. You fill in who you want to ship it to, and someone comes and picks it up, which was, super fun. And Bob Sopko, they were right next to the United States Post Office, who is a partner of theirs. they apparently ship millions and millions of packages with the post office, if they are to be believed. But you don't have to do that. They're going to do it, which I think is cool. But again, the only reason I'm bringing this up is that where CES used to be a lot of siloed organizations talking about their own stuff. And look, that's always great to do. You talk about your own stuff all day long. This CES really was about partnerships, and it was fantastically interesting to see the biggest companies in tech and the biggest companies in the world tell you how to partner, have corp dev and biz dev people, on the floor ready to talk to you. That's new. That was actually a really new thing for CES, and it was very, very interesting to see and fun to watch. Just for tech, because I like tech, so we'll talk tech for a second. Lenovo yoga books have always been a favorite of mine. This one, the 9i, caught my attention instantly. Really fun. This is two 13.3-inch screens, and you can see that there's also a magnetic keyboard, although you can use a virtual keyboard as well. You can stack these any way you want. They come apart completely. They fold. It's super, super fun. It's a tablet. It's two tablets. It's two tablets side by side. It's two screens up and down. It's a screen with a keyboard. You type yoga, flexibility, get it. But yeah, this was great. It's supposed to be under $2,000. It'll come out this year. There is a 9i, which was confusing because they have one out already that's not this. So I questioned them about the name of it, but apparently this is the name. So if you were to do this now, you might end up on the Lenovo website and actually see something that's not this, but this is the name they gave it. I was confused, but not confused about the device. The device is awesome. Last thing I'll talk to you about CES was L'Oreal's Hapta. Now, years ago, we saw the Happy Fork, and there's a company, Verily, that makes a bunch of cutlery like this. Here, what L'Oreal did is they took the basic design of the Happy Fork, and instead of having a utensil on it, what's in here is a gyroscope for stabilization, and this gives agency and capability to someone who has lost their fine motor skills, somebody with Parkinson's, or someone who's just infirm and can't do fine motor skills. This is a really interesting way to apply makeup. The head is a 360-degree magnetic head. It's got flexion, I think, to 180 degrees, so it's going to be really useful. I watched this thing in action. So tech is at its best when it does things for us we can't do for ourselves. The first time Alexa Voice Services was attached to a Moen faucet or was attached to a Kohler bathtub, everybody laughed. I tell you what, I had some bicep surgery and shoulder surgery earlier this year, and I was in a sling and unable by doctor's orders to do anything with the right side of my body. And I mean, absolutely couldn't do a thing. I'm right-handed. I've got some capacity in my left hand because I play a lot of piano, and my left hand's pretty good, but it doesn't do a lot of things because it's never had to. When you need something, like you want to turn the faucet on, and a crossbody faucet, or it is a lot of fun to be able to say, turn on the shower, turn the shower to 130 degrees or whatever it is. Giving agency to people who are infirm is the highest, best use of technology, without question. And I got to give L'Oreal a lot of credit for this one. They took something, when you look good and there's something psychological about looking your best. And when people can't do that adds insult to injury. I got to just give these guys a lot of credit. They're an amazing company. This is something special, and they did a good job. I would be remiss. This wasn't at CES. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Apple Reality Pro. Apple Reality Pro is a new product that will come out the end of this year. They'll take orders for it in the spring, and they should start shipping in the fall. It will not look like this. No one knows what it's going to look like. I shouldn't say no one on the outside can confirm what it's actually going to look like because Apple's not commenting. This is still technically a rumor, so I'll take the picture away. It's going to be an augmented reality headset or mixed reality or extended reality headset. Now, there is augmented reality where we take streaming data, connect it to batch data, and we surface it like in a heads-up display. There is extended or mixed reality, where you take elements from virtual reality like objects, maybe some haptic feedback is involved, and you mix or extend reality by creating environments that are enhanced in some way or extended in some way. And then there's virtual reality, where you are deprived of your other senses and you're put in a virtual environment where everything is created for you. So those are kind of the three aspects of the spectrum. We've talked about this before, right? We call it, at the Palmer Group, we call it the observable metaverse. From the physical world to the digital world, we walk through this idea of augmented to mixed to virtual reality. And we go through the everything from projections on our world to a fully virtual world. So in this case, what Apple's going to do is they're sitting firmly in the extended reality world. The name of the operating system is XROS, making us believe it's about extended reality. They're calling it the Reality Pro. We don't have a price yet. We do know it's going to have an external battery pack that will be like waist belt clipped on. Seriously extra and wired. The joke I was telling all week at CES was that I was now unconfused about Darth Vader's bandolier, because I always thought that was ammunition. Not that Darth Vader would need ammunition, but now it's clear to me it was battery packs for Darth's breathing apparatus and his heads-up display. So Apple's going to be coming out with its first version of this Reality Pro sometime before the end of the year. You'll be able to purchase it. What's it going to do? Well, yeah, what is it going to do? I don't know. But I think what it's going to do is give us a pretty solid, real live, no kidding window into what the next generation of our connectivity is going to look like. Handsets are done. Like, you can't, physiologically, you can't make a handset that's bigger that you can hold. That's been tested. We already have it coming in sizes for different sized people who have different sized preferences. Some people like the smaller form factor and they want to be able to one hand with their thumb. Other people like the big ones because they, like me, I like the biggest screen I can get that I can still hold in my hand, mostly because it's easier to see, and I think that the keys are easier to press and easier to tap when you want to tap on something. But that's just me. Everybody's got their own preferences. Point is, we're done. You can't make it any bigger. You couldn't hold it. Now it becomes a tablet. So we know how big handsets can get. Screens aren't getting any better. Like, it's already Retina displays on the iPhones. It's already as good as you can see. Color space is almost infinite. The dynamic range is 15 f-stops. It's black to white. Could it be a little better? Sure, but you're always using it in ambient light. So how much better can it actually get? Screens are tougher. Battery life can get better for sure. Battery life will get better. Processor speed can get better, but you're not going to watch a faster video. You're not going to make a faster phone call. You're not going to get a faster text message. It doesn't, there's nothing it does that's going to get demonstrably better. Now, there are things it could do that would be demonstrably better, but they have nothing to do with the device per se, other than the way the device would interface with the network. You've got data in the cloud. You've got data that's streaming locally in real time. You've got data you're creating. You've got data at the edge, and then you've got data locally, and you have processing power in the cloud. You have processing power at the edge, processing power possibly inside the local network, and processing power at your device. All of this has to come together to give you an enhanced experience. It could be visualized on a phone, for sure, or a tablet, yes, or a laptop, or a big screen, or a monstrous projected screen, sure, all of that. It could also be realized and surfaced in a pair of glasses or goggles. How you surface that is likely to change, and that, I think, is what Apple's exploring. What's fascinating to me is that the things that are holding this back really aren't the display technology. What's holding it back, privacy laws, computational power, and the idea of what it is that you're going to put together. So I've got a single view of the customer, my CRM system. I know your preferences, whatever they are, whether it's a social media company or big tech, or maybe you've got a self-sovereign ID on a blockchain that is allowing someone to just know what data they can about you. Some company is going to have some ID that kind of knows who you are because you've interacted with them. You'll be in a place you may have logged into. Maybe you bought a ticket. Maybe you just, the location tells everything and everyone where the device is, what data will you surface and what will you do to enhance the experience? Are you going to put data heads up in a display, clickable players, information about a sale, information about where you are, directions, that's heads up. That would be augmenting the reality you're in. Are you going to extend the reality by putting objects or haptic feedback? I'm going to look instead of into a mirror, I'm going to look into a camera and playback system or screen where I'm in a retail environment. I put on one outfit, and instead of me going to have to change it, I want to see it in brown. Now I want to see it in blue. Now I want to see it in green. And I just ask it. And the colors change. I don't have to go keep changing the clothes. I put it on once. I know what it fits like now. I'm choosing color. Is that possible? Yeah. How would you surface that data? And then what other data would go on that screen? And would it be on a screen, or would it be in glasses? Or where would you put it? Less interesting than how you'd get it there. So there's an awful lot of stuff that wasn't dealt with at CES. Yeah, we saw TCL's glasses. We saw, actually, to be fair, there are about 10 different companies that have some version of regular good old-fashioned glasses that were going to tell us exactly what we could do from a display perspective in order to surface the data. But what I didn't see was any mechanism at all, in any manner, shape, or form, no mechanism to actually bring all of the data sets together you'd need to create an emotionally satisfying experience for consumers. That's still pretty far away. It's white space. I mean, you want to build a business right now? That's a business to build, because there isn't anyone who's going to be able to take advantage of this fully without being able to take their view of the customer, combine it with the behavioral data that's happening in real time, the environment's data, which it's only can provide to you, and bring it together. So yeah, CES told me as much about what isn't happening as what is happening. And it was pretty interesting. I've got a couple writings at shellypalmer.com that may help you think some of this through. And there's a database we have. It doesn't roll off the tip of the tongue, but at shellypalmer.com/web3-database, we started to collect all of the companies that might be interesting and might be part of this new kind of way to experience an augmented or mixed reality world. And we'll leave the virtual worlds to others for now, because that's the bastion of people who are dealing with Sony PlayStation VR or MetaQuest or those guys. Yeah, sure. If you want to build a virtual world, that's one thing. But Web3 is a much bigger business opportunity. It's more likely to be the successor to the hand phone or the handset, the cell phone, smartphone, or handset business. So there's that. Also, if you go to ces.shellypalmer.com, what I think today, I'm not sure, I have to actually look, but you could fill that in one way or the other. Is it up to date? Yeah, you'll learn about our live, I just wanted to check, it's there. You'll learn about our live interactive tech briefings. We are doing these online versions. I told you could get your PO app today. And if you have 5 PO apps, you could come to a CES tech briefing. Well, that tech briefing is available for your company, your leadership team, and you can learn about that at ces.shellypalmer.com. And of course, look, at any time, you guys can ask me any questions you want via email, shelly@shellypalmer.com. I'm always very happy, very, very happy to take your questions, and I do my best to answer them. I would beg you, please follow me on Twitter. Say something on Twitter, nice or not nice. I don't care what it is. Just hit me up on Twitter. Take a screenshot right now and say this was awesome, or say it sucked. Say something. At Shelly Palmer. I'd really appreciate it. Also, Instagram, you can find me. I'm getting pretty active on Facebook. We're stepping up our social media. Any way that you want to interact, please do. You know that if you go to shellypalmer.com, you can subscribe to our daily email. So that's all there too. Don't forget your PO app. Please do not forget it, because now we're starting to put together events, live events, and people are starting to go back to live events. So if you're going to see us at a live event, that's we're going to start. If you have enough PO apps, you're getting into the super secret handshake club, which is our pleasure to offer you. Thanks so much to everybody for staying with me today and for being here. It was really awesome. I appreciate how lively chat was today. I'm sorry I didn't get to every single question. We will be here next week, Wednesday, 12:15, for another edition of Web3 Wednesday. For everybody at the Palmer Group, I'm Shelly Palmer, and I really, really want to thank you for being here. and I'll look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care.